welcome back to Table by Taru, where we are once again celebrating the Cargills International Women's Day Festival. This is day 2 of a 4-part series. Stay tuned as we meet today's panel of Changemakers right here on Hi Online. Savithri once again, who is an event partner and the event moderator. Hi Savithri, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good, thank you.
Lovely. First of all, happy International Women's Day.
Same to you. Girl power, may there be change.
Thank you. So, to touch base on today's sessions, which were pioneering women and the male perspective, what can you tell us about these two sessions?
Okay, so the pioneering women were chosen because they've all been change makers in their field. Kasturi as the first group CEO of a major blue chip conglomerate. Varuni because she co-founded and heads the largest media network in the country. And Ashanti, who is Sri Lanka's first female hip-hop artist and also the youngest and first Sri Lankan female artist to be signed up by Universal Music, by an international record label. And the males were brought in actually because we thought, and I think it's a valid point, that this whole aspect of gender empowerment and gender equality is a united, we need to bring in everyone into the conversation. Us just talking about it as women will not work. So we need to bring the men in and discuss about it. So that's why we brought in the CEO of Standard Chartered, the head of shared services of the London Stock Exchange Group, and also the Chief People's Officer of Brandix Group.
So Savithri, what subjects do you aim to tackle today with these two sessions?
So with the pioneers, it was mainly to learn from their journeys, the lessons that they could share with others. And one of the things that actually came out of the whole thing is that the three women there, the pioneering women, wanted the other women, one, to support each other, because that's very important, because as Kasturi said, sisterhood is absolutely important. That's what keeps us going even in the worst of times. And also to be the best version of yourself. So to be the best version of yourself, you need that support, trust. So it was the journey, their journey, what lessons, and also how they treat their female colleagues and their employees and things like that. And where Ashanti was concerned, actually, I touched on a problem that is quite rampant, and that's cyber harassment, and she's been through that. So she was saying what actually happened, and it was difficult for her to come out and speak about it, but she did. So maybe that's another aspect that we need to take a little more emphasis on. Where the males were concerned, we wanted to know was what are the practices, the best practices all these organizations have put in place to empower their female employees and to give their female employees a voice. Because most often the female employees are there, they do the work, but no one hears them. And what is the succession plan that goes on? How do they actually bring females to the top management on meritocracy, or is it on is the test that is given to them, the matrix that's given to them, is it equal? Does it mean because she's a female she can't do this, or because he's a male he can't do that? So those are the little things we wanted to find out, and I think at the end of the day both well-rounded discussions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Savithri, for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm here with the lovely Kasturi. Hi Kasturi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Oh, lovely. So Kasturi has had an amazing success story. If you could tell us a little bit about it.
So I'm not sure whether you call it a success story, but I could only say I've had a journey, very interesting journey. And I think that journey was possible because there were women before me who have actually kind of aspired to educate kids. And I was educated by a mom who actually knew the value of that. There were women who were out there breaking the norms and fighting for quotas in public service, like Indrani Sugatadasa, like Arjuna Nanayakkara. I mean, they paved the way for us to kind of navigate. The navigation process was different, but we did manage it because there was somebody out there who paved the way, and that's my journey. And yes, I have been in unorthodox roles, I've been in places where it was traditionally a male dominant role, but I was fortunate enough to have a culture, an organization which had a culture which was blind to gender, which accepted during our time was that women had other roles to play, so they kind of made it unequal at office so that you kind of could play those roles as well and be fulfilled. And they actually now have gone to this place where we look at co-parenting as part of an organization, because we believe that women to succeed, they need support, and it shouldn't be dependent on how good your partner is or whether you're single. It should be that it's a partnership we look for in terms of bringing up family. So that's something we are championing now. But so that's my journey. I wouldn't say it's successful, but I would say that I've been in places where it has been kind of first for some women. But I've enjoyed it. It was part of my journey, I guess.
That's fascinating. In regards to today's subject, which is pioneering women, what would you like to say?
So in that context, I think we've seen, historically we had the first female prime minister. We had so many people shattering this glass ceiling. It's no longer that, right? What I'd like to say is now, let's own these spaces uniquely like a woman should. We've gone through this place where we think, should I be this leader who is owning it like a boss man leader, right? So, for me, the pioneering women, coming forward, there's a lot of the new gen coming up. Just be brave to own your uniqueness. Be brave to own the competency. Because nowadays the roles are just gender blind. You need to be able to fit in and see if your competencies can fit into that role and go for it. I mean, everybody has, the first 3 generations ago it was different. Now it's different, and the next generation will find it different. So go out and just put out the best foot forward, and if that's what you want, go achieve it.
Absolutely. So from the challenges that you faced or any issues that you witnessed, what would you like to bring to light?
I guess the biggest challenge is how do you get into the corporate world and be a mom without being apologetic about being a mom? And how do you fight that unconscious bias that just because you are a mom, that you're not going to be focusing on performance? How do you own your space as a leader without being called that she's a female leader but she's very aggressive? These are the challenges, that the biases, and how I had to dig deep inside to figure out without losing myself and trying not to over-adjust and become somebody else. So that was the biggest challenge. So every role I went was held by it was held by a man when I succeeded that role. And it plays in your head. Are you going to sit in that seat and be like that person, or whether you want to do it the way you did it, because there was no precedent set. That inner battle was the biggest challenge. And because of my sports background, I didn't really feel the other part of it where people discriminate. There was nothing like that. It's just that adjustment to the ecosystem, which was a male culture, and them adjusting to me, which is two-way street. I mean, even from a boardroom perspective, they need to adjust to a female leader, because they say this thing, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? It didn't come from nowhere. We think differently, we approach problems differently, and that uniqueness, I guess, needed to be accepted versus them wanting us to be like a herd mentality, be sounding like them. Yeah, that was, for me, those were the bigger challenges navigating that.
Thank you. And what advice would you like to give to our young viewers, men and women included?
I think anybody, the young people who want something for their life, whether it's you're an entrepreneur or a corporate person, figure out how does the light within you get switched on? What drives you? What makes you happy? And then bring that light on and just be your unique self. Do not apologize for who you are. Do not change your core essence. Keep that humanity about you, because look, all of these, we are corporate leaders maybe, but underneath I'm predominantly first a human being. All these are, titles I hold, but when I leave the earth, I would only take back what I've impacted and who I've impacted, if I've left the world in a better place. So just go out there and be yourself and chase whatever makes you happy.
Thank you so much. That is the inspiring Kasturi. Thank you so much, Kasturi, for joining us.
Thanks, the pleasure was all mine.
Hello, I have with me the lovely Varuni. Hi Varuni, how are you?
Hi Nini.
If you could give us a little backstory about yourself.
Okay. Basically, as to why I'm here today, I think it's because it's International Women's Day, and then we in Sri Lanka are celebrating it. Honestly, I came because my friend Savithri was organizing it and Mahika was supporting her. So I wanted to, support and then, share a few thoughts. Basically, the reason why I'm here is, I think, because Savi felt that I belong to a group of women pioneers in our respective fields. I come from the media industry. The company I co-founded, we started in 1993 as law students. So it's a case of Sri Lankan entrepreneurship, and it's a case of starting a local business with zero investment, and I think more importantly, it's a case of sustainability, where over 28 years we've grown and we've evolved into a conglomerate. We lovingly called it the API conglomerate. And I think Sabi wanted me to share some thoughts and insights as to how we did it as an inspiration.
Lovely. So touching on today's subject, which is pioneering women, what would you like to tell us?
Basically, everybody has a story, right? It's just that you just need to make that story interesting and a story worthwhile for somebody else to listen to and to be inspired by. I think everybody, has their own stories. I'm really lucky that I get the chance to speak about my story. And, pioneers are people, I think, who try their level best while being the older generation. They also try to leave behind certain footprints. In my case, personally, more than anything else, the footprint I'd like to leave behind is about goodness, is about a purpose beyond profit. So to be an entrepreneur, to be a business personality, in my opinion, I think you need to think beyond the profit that you make and do some good for the people you work with, for your community and the country.
Those are some words of wisdom right there. So Varuni calls herself a controversial figure, which is quite peculiar. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Controversial simply because I challenge convention, and I think that is the way to do something progressive, because most of the time we in Sri Lanka, especially because of the social media, we get hooked on, or we believe certain Western philosophies and thinking which is not relevant to us. So especially talking about these movements, community uprisings and things like that, I personally don't think it's relevant to us because our background is different, our thinking is different, our ties are different, bonds are different. So controversial in that sense, I would always like to challenge convention and come up with new ideas, very Sri Lankanized ideas on how to solve a problem or how to grab an opportunity.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Varuni. Those were truly inspiring. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Nini.
Ashanti, what can you tell us about today's event and what you thought about it?
I think it was fabulous. We need to have more open, honest conversations like this with women in different areas. And I feel that it's a conversation starter, and change begins from conversation. So it's a great space to be in.
We discussed a multitude of topics today. Which would you like to tackle or touch upon?
Well, I think we covered a lot of things today, and I learned so much from listening to Varuni's and Kasturi's experiences as well. And I think it's so absolutely phenomenal because it's women that build up women. And if we can create this network within our peer groups, the world could be such a better place in terms of so much of female energy and empowerment. Maybe I'd like to start with empowerment. I think empowerment is a great space, and I feel really empowered after the conversation that I had.
Absolutely, so do I. So Varuni, Kasturi and yourself mentioned that when you began your journeys, it wasn't specifically to mark any first for women in specific. What would you like to add to that?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't, and I think when you really think about the collective thoughts on that, it makes a lot of sense, because I don't think anything big starts with the intention that it's going to blow up and be huge. It starts organically. It starts from the passion that you have to drive the skills that you have, and that's the place to begin. From an open and honest space where you really just want to share and share your skills with the world.
So you have an interesting backstory where you made an addition to include socially conscious music. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, there are so many things I want to talk about, especially when it comes to empowering women and also educating men on how they can help empower women. Because we are the majority of Sri Lanka, so to speak. But we don't have the opportunity of the majority. So that change can be created by making men our allies and also women building other women up. I think what the question is here is equality. I think everything and everyone needs to be equal and feel equal. So I think that's what everyone is aiming for, may it be a woman or a man. If we can have the space to be equal with everyone else, then I think the world will be a better place.
Absolutely. And besides inspiring just women and men, you've touched upon some taboo topics about mental health. What would you like to add or elaborate on it?
Well, when I opened up the subject of mental awareness, not a lot of people wanted to. They when people get slightly held back when you bring out topics like gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, public harassment, harassment in public transportation, in the workplace, suicide prevention, depression, things like that, because they're real things and they affect all of us as a whole. You have to be, I think it has to have a gentle approach, and these things need to be spoken about. So opening up the conversation is a starter. And hopefully from that, it will open up avenues for a lot of people to understand the depth of these subjects, and also maybe learn a little bit about themselves and how they can change things for the rest of the world and people around them as well.
Can I just say that is a truly amazing initiative that you took to bring awareness about mental health and about these taboo topics that society generally refuses to talk about.
We are all in the entertainment industry. It's always about the glitz and the glam and the thing that's right in front of the camera. But a little bit of introspection is good, and I think that it's required. Even for me, changing from a hip-hop artist and growing into an adult from my 20s to 30s, that transition, it took a bit of time, and it came very gradually. And as I listened to myself and learned a bit about myself, I was able to expand as a human being. And I feel that growth then channels out into my music as well. I make commercial music. I love making commercial music, but I also do feel that I have to be a voice for change.
That is truly amazing. What would you like to say to young and upcoming musicians who've essentially grown up listening to your music?
I would say be bold, be original, don't be afraid to do exactly what you feel comes from within your gut. stick to your instincts, and if you have the right intention. It was Kasturi at this forum that pointed out something about a protege, or so to speak, that she was trying to create, and asked about her intentions, and that really kind of struck home for me, because your intentions need to be pure. It's not about how much you're going to earn, or whether you're going to win a Grammy Award. It's about the space and the passion for music or the industry that you're in that will make you a success.
Thank you so much. There we have it, the beautiful Ashanti. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Hi, I have with me Dila from Healing Island. Hi Dila, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. And you?
If you could give us a small description about yourself.
I'm the managing owner of Healing Island, and we make a range of natural handmade wellness products. We make personal care products, spa products like massage oils, aromatherapy burn oils, incense, and men's products as well.
Lovely. So for today's event, Healing Island contributed a pack of sanitizer wipes. If you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, the sanitizer wipes began during COVID. That's really not our forte, but due to the necessity and the need and to keep everybody well, we created Healing Island sanitizer liquid, but this is a new product that we're doing. It's a Healing Island sanitizer wipe.
And it's absolutely useful. And to finally touch base on today's event, how do you suppose it went, and what do you think about the overall Changemakers concept?
I thought it was brilliant. I loved everybody who spoke because they really, really have made a change and an impact, and they really are still doing so much for everybody and inspiring a lot of women out there.
Well, thank you so much. This is Dila with me. Thank you so much, Dila.
Thank you too.
Hi, I have with me Bingumal. Hi, Bingumal. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
So, what would you say is the status of equality and women empowerment in Sri Lanka as of now?
So specifically about gender, I think if you go back to the past, I think we never had challenges with gender diversity in Sri Lanka, in my view. But with more and more women joining the workforce and working day and night, I think there are challenges because they also have other responsibilities, women and men both. So in that respect, I think we have come far. Fixing those gaps, I think more work to be done.
So there are a multitude of protocols and initiatives being taken to establish safety and empowerment, equality in corporate environments. How would you say is the extent of this being applied to society in general?
So we as a bank, we've done many of those for the last 10 years because diversity is a big agenda for Standard Chartered Bank. It's part of the core values and the core purpose more than anything. And under that, you have the women empowerment as an agenda. So we are here today on the 8th of March, celebrating the Women's Day. In terms of the corporates in Sri Lanka, I think compared to the West or some of the other developed markets, if you really compare apples to apples, we have a gap. We have work to do. But having said that, at least the top corporates have understood that there's an issue. We need to address it, and there are a lot of processes and practices in place to address those issues. And I think year on year we are improving.
How would you say we should go ahead in applying these to society, in making it our habits, like in families, with friends?
See, friends and family, again, as a bank, what we've done is like we have a channel to, engage the families as well, especially on the well-being side. If you're mentally stressed, there are channels to talk to, and there's, counseling happening, sponsored by the bank. But taking that to the larger society, I think the government has a big role to play. I think definitely corporates will join the initiative, but the government has to come forward and implement some of the laws and procedures to protect the safety of the communities. Yeah.
So now we're trying to shift from the separate men and women dynamic to an overall equality, which is essentially based on individual qualities. What would you say is your response to this?
I think it's critical. So as a bank, what we've looked at is like, the gender diversity is one thing. We also look at unconscious biases, going beyond the norms, the gender or the race or the culture. There are a lot of unconscious biases in Sri Lanka as well. So here as a bank, what we've done is educating our colleagues around unconscious biases, because we all can have unconscious biases, but we're educating people to make sure that you don't be biased when you're taking decisions, because we all have biases. So it's a long process to educate people and get them up to speed, but as an organization we come far.
Well, that is it. Thank you so much, Bingumal, for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, I have with me Arjuna. Hi Arjuna, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, good, yeah.
So Arjuna, how do you suppose that men in their various roles as husbands, as friends, as partners could contribute to women equality, women empowerment?
Yeah, it's a concept that is changing in the world. Especially, it's new to Sri Lanka, but in the developed nations, having women working and being treated equally is a very mature concept. So, if you take the Sri Lankan knowledge environment, which is what I am exposed to, I would say it has considerably gone to a mature state where men and women, they equally work, they do professional careers. So from being a partner to being a parent and raising kids, we do appreciate now women going to work and coming back. We can see concepts changing around maternity leave, having daycare for women, and a lot of the fathers taking over responsibility in parenthood. So it's a very good sign, especially in the knowledge environment and the services industry, I would say.
Absolutely. So what would you say is the status of equality in Sri Lanka, or rather the evolution of equality?
I would say it is still evolving. It's too early to comment about the end result, but certainly especially in multinational environments where you can bring in a very solid concept that is already tested and proven. It can be established because we've got the systems, procedures and policies in place to govern this as a change. So we have definitely taken the early move advantage and introduced such concepts to Sri Lanka.
How would you say your workplace ensures that women and even men are given equal opportunities?
So we look at gender diversity and the subject of diversity and inclusion as a strategic initiative. We have this coming to us from the board and starting from our CEO. LSCG, we practice this, we preach it, we practice it, and we walk the talk. We have measurements in place, and we have very solid concepts in place to inculcate this into our culture and behavior. We have lots of reviews and governance around recruitment, and then gender balance, and forming teams where there is adequate representation of cross sections, not only women and men, different diverse groups. And we also have inclusion networks, especially for women. If we want women to have identity in organizations, we should give them a chance to be what they are and represent themselves. So at LSCG, we practice all that, and we ensure that we promote women, we get them engaged, and then we convert the best of their self and their professional career.
Just to touch on the diverse groups that you mentioned, how does your workplace ensure that the other groups, such as when it concerns ethnicity, or if it's anyone in the LGBTQ plus community, how are they given equal opportunities, or how is it ensured?
So we have these strategic initiatives coming from the group. It is not a Sri Lankan initiative. It is practiced, it is defined, and it is sponsored right from the top. So we have our exco representing these groups and sponsoring them down to the Sri Lankan initiatives. We have the same focus groups and inclusion networks representing and sponsoring activities, and we ensure that we meet certain targets as an organization when we map these strategies and complete a certain year. So with that, we are not just conceptualizing these things, we are actually practicing it and making a cultural change.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Arjuna, for joining us.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Hi, I have with me Ishan. Hi, Ishan, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. In your workplace, what changes have been made to the work culture to ensure that there's safety and women empowerment?
Okay, so the first thing is culture and values go hand in hand. So the first thing that we did is we created these values, which we call RITE, respect, integrity, teamwork and excellence. Under respect, earlier we had a theme called respect and care, which we converted out to respect. So under respect, we have educated from the senior most to the levels, where we say that every employee, be it man or woman, has to be respected. So in terms of creating that respectful culture, then once you know that respect is a value, you have been oriented on that, you have been trained on that, and you have spent a lot of time being educated on it. So everyone has to practice that value of respect. And if anyone infringes that in terms of harassment in any form, then we have taken very strict action. So one way is to educate, one way is to promote. There's a lot of communication happening around it so that everyone knows. But also, if there's infringement, then you take action.
Would you say there have been challenges in implementing these changes to the work culture?
Yeah, the challenge is creating that awareness. So you have to first start with the top, where we took 3 months for the senior most leadership. And then we went on like that at the levels, because it's a behavioral change to many. So to do that, they have to have time, they have to be guided, they have to be coached in doing so. And then also to see that respect is happening well in the organization, we have set up certain forums. Like example, one is the counselors. So if an employee has any issue, they can go to the counselor. Counselor reports direct to the factory head. If they have an issue, myself and the group CEO's numbers are there, mobile numbers in the plants, openly displayed, so that they can call us. Then we also have a lot of training that happens across, so that they are educated on their rights. With one of our global customers, we are educating these ladies to say that, okay, these are your rights in terms of an employee, so that you know that if it's infringed, you know what action to be taken. And there is a process when there is violated for action to be taken, and there is a whole risk and control and compliance team auditing that to see whether it's happening properly. And these are met at global customer standards, international.
In regards to various types of harassment and even touching on the Me Too movement, how do you ensure that your employees are safe?
Yeah, so the Me Too movement, I think, has to, it's a good thing, because that way it's a process of bringing forward and highlighting issues that are going on in an organization. So I think in an organization, what makes you safe is the structure has to support that. Your processes have to support that. Your policies has to support that. For example, when I say process, the safe working environment, safe transport, then the policies has to support that. Your values has to be aligned, and also your leadership and your supervisors has to be trained to adopt that. So for like the Me Too movement, I think, like I said before, it's good because it brings forward. But once it's brought forward, what action is taken and what processes are there to support it, what processes are there for them to come forward with their issues, becomes very critical. In your workplace, what mechanisms are in place to ensure that women and even men are able to come forward about being harassed? I think there are the first is the trust. the trust that when you complain, the action will be taken, and it will be a transparent process where the victim is not victimized, where when you say something, there is an independent team assessing that. So we have a strong harassment-free workplace policy, and it also covers abuse and harassment. Then we also had incorporated that in the code of conduct, and our IT policy, because this also stems from social media. So our IT policy ensures that aspect is controlled. So what we are trying to do is encourage, if there is anything like that, to bring forward and have the transparency in dealing with that, and have the confidentiality maintained, so that there is trust that when you can say in confidence and action will be taken. So this is how we are trying to handle this.
Thank you so much, Ishan, for joining us. That was extremely insightful.
Thank you.
Well, that is a wrap on today's event, which was the Changemakers held at Table by Taru. I am Ninuri Asalya, and this is Hi Online.